Yo, it's your boy Vegabomber and welcome to Vegabomber Land. So you know what's up. It's time for me to talk movies with you. And the latest movie that I've seen is Blair Witch. Not the Blair Witch Project, which is what this is the sequel to, but just simply Blair Witch. So the original movie that this is actually the sequel to came out in 1999, and it kind of helped kick off the whole found footage craze in terms of horror films. Now, it wasn't the very first film to do it. It had happened a couple of times earlier, but Blair Witch is probably the one that was the most famous for doing it and bringing found footage horror into the mainstream to where we would see it duplicated and duplicated over and over again. So what's this movie about? Well, it's the sequel to the first one. It's definitely much better than The Book of Shadows, but that's not too hard for any film to do because that movie is so horrible, but that's all we really need to say about The Book of Shadows. This is the real heir apparent sequel to that. So the synopsis, James is the brother of Heather, who Heather, if you remember, was in the original The Blair Witch Project film that came out in 1999. So what we are is probably about 15 or so years since then, and James, who was a toddler at the time, is wondering if it's really true that his sister is really lost, if she's really gone, or could she possibly still be out there. And of course he finds some video online that a guy posts, and then from there he starts to think, well, maybe she still is alive because here's people posting about certain sightings going on in those same woods. So James, as you would probably imagine, gets together with his girlfriend and a couple of other friends, and you know what they do? They go decide to find these people who said that they found some footage, and then with those people go into those woods. You know, just kind of like how they always go back to the lake at Camp Crystal Lake and Friday the 13th, and how they always seem to go back to the most dangerous places. Well, never fear, same thing happens here. Now, let me tell you about what I liked about this film, because there are a lot of likable moments in this film. Now, first of all, I'd have to say that the sound design was great. So every time you heard a nice little ruffle in the bushes or the foliage or a crack or something like that, it sounded like you were there. In fact, that's another one of the pros about this film. The whole cinematography of this film, the whole background is actually a character itself. The darkness and only being able to see just as far as the headlamp will let you see, which really gets you this feel that you're really lost and in the woods. So that part was done really, really well. And then, of course, they had to update it because now we're in the age of technology. So with them having walkie-talkies, camera phones, and headpieces, earpieces, and all this other good stuff, and even a drone, I was like, yeah, what would that look like to have that kind of stuff going into the film? Because obviously 1999, which was set in 1994, they didn't have that. So that part had me interested. I'm like, okay, all right, let's see how this goes. I'd say another great thing about this film was the levity. There were some really great jokes, and the guy who you know is going to bite it first, because you know the guys that are the jerkiest always get killed first. Well, he was actually pretty funny. He's a character named Peter. He was actually pretty funny, and you know, no spoilers, but come on, you know people are going to die in a horror film, and you already kind of know who's going to be the last one standing, if any, right? You kind of know this by now. And I would say probably the last good like that I had about this film is I felt like they did a good job to homage it, but then there's some problems. And this is a perfect segue for me now to things that I did not like. And I'll just hit the number one thing about horror movies that can really just get me tweaked. And that is jump scares. And unfortunately, film fans, horror fans, I just got to tell you the truth. A jump scare too is fine, but this film goes overboard in the first half with jump scares. And it is annoying, because jump scares are annoying. And they couldn't help themselves, and they did it. This movie was doing so good. And then all of a sudden, here we go. Jump scare for this, jump scare for that. Hey, it's a piece of paper. Jump scare. Hey, a cockroach. Jump scare. Hey, it's just, at some point, after a certain point, you wouldn't even jump anymore because of how many jump scares went. Now, I'm not trying to say there were 1,000 jump scares. There weren't. But to me, anything more than 3 or 4, you're kind of pushing it on the jump scare. So I would say that was probably my biggest thing. The second thing was kind of the ending of this film. I mean, it kind of started to really pick up a lot of what it did in the original film in 1999. And it was kind of like, okay, we've seen this ending before. It's kind of the same. Now, it's still interesting in the fact that how the tech plays into it. But at the same time, I was like, wow. The early tension that was set up, I'm kind of, at this point, just annoyed. And then I think and this is probably more of a nitpick, but still, I just get tired of a movie where, after a while, where all you do is hear people going, Ashley, Ashley, Peter, Peter, Lisa, Lisa. And that goes on for about 20, 25 minutes. You're just like, shut up. I was like, at some point, I was like, oh, please, will the witch just come out and just take them out of their misery? Because I'm just tired of hearing them saying the same thing over and over again. It's like they're not answering. So just go find out what it is. So I don't know. It's just, at some point, I was just kind of, I was out. So, I don't know. It's kind of one of those films. Once again, I find myself split down the middle on this film, because it would be wrong of me to tell you that this film didn't have some great moments in it. It actually did. It actually was pretty good as far as sequels go, and, if you will, kind of a soft reboot go. But then at the same time, it couldn't help itself in certain areas too. So what do I think about the film? I think this. I think if you're a horror film fan and you love the 1999 version, I think for you this film is going to be blowing up. But I also think if you're someone who's seen a lot of horror films and you kind of know the tropes and you really are hoping to see something truly different with some more uniqueness to it, and then as it stands compared to other horror movies, I would say that you're going to want to detonate this film, because, to be quite honest, the horror genre actually has been coming up a little bit this year. In fact, I should make a video about that with Horror Mike. Maybe I will. But here's the thing. So far, this year, the best horror movie I've seen was The Conjuring 2, followed closely by Lights Out, and then Don't Breathe. And then I would put this movie somewhere kind of middling in the middle of the pack. It's just, this isn't a film that I'm going to be thinking about or talking about much longer after I've seen it. In fact, I'm going to forget a lot of it, almost like right now. But anyway, I'm the Bomber. That's just what I thought of the film. What did you think? Have you seen the film yet? Do you want to go see this film? What kind of film are you expecting? Do you want to see a retelling of the 1999, or do you want to see something completely different in this film? Or are you okay with just seeing maybe the same thing, just kind of being softly rebooted? But either way, tell me in the comments. And if you like this video, go ahead and like it. And if you want to share this video, feel free to do that. And if you want to subscribe, oh man, the Vegabomber appreciates that. Anyway, that's my time. I'm out. You. Yeah, over the fence one more time.